Hi there, this is Dr. Josie. We are going to be visiting Micki Lewis's kitchen today while she shows us how she makes her homemade dog food. Currently, we are watching Ariel, her standard poodle, enjoying her afternoon meal consisting of a raw chicken back. Micki has been feeding 5 generations of dogs with this recipe. Sit back and relax as she shows us the process. I will include a link in the description to the ingredient list and recipe, as well as a podcast episode where we go in depth discussing her feeding protocol and Golda, her golden retriever's case history. So I am here today with Micki Lewis in her kitchen. This is like the Betty Crocker of dog food, and we're seeing how she makes her dog food blend. So this is, go ahead and talk, we're making the vegetable and fruit mixture that then she portions out and freezes, right? You portion and freeze it.
I package it and freeze it, and then each dog gets about a heaping soup spoonful on top of their meat mixture every day.
Perfect.
And this already has a whole head of kale, a whole head of collard greens, 2 pounds of carrots. I've added an apple. I just pluck a large size apple off the shelf. We've already done most of the zucchini. I still have zucchini, broccoli, and watermelon left to go. But in here is an apple. It's got garlic, a little bit of garlic. What am I forgetting? Josie has the whole list.
Carrot, there's broccoli, and you can see, I mean, here's the cutting board with the really fresh broccoli and zucchini and orange. We're gonna put watermelon in there.
Cranberries and blueberries. A can of pureed pumpkin, and a huge sweet potato that I cooked just enough to be able to cut it up.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
So
it blends easier.
I put it in a wet paper towel, I pop it in the microwave, and just enough so that I can cut it into pieces to put in here.
Cool. So we have that full. She's got 2 bowls already done up here. So.
And that beautiful color is from the cranberries.
Mm-hmm. And that beautiful red color is actually, nature color codes things for us. So according to the 5 elements of Chinese medicine, red is for the heart, is for the fire element. So we have red is for the heart, the small intestine, and red has all these special phytonutrients like lycopene and vitamin A and beta carotenes in it. Oh, so now this is going to go into what was this mixture in the bowl?
The mixture in the bowl is the collard greens, the kale, blueberries, an apple, zucchini, string beans, spinach, and I don't usually make this much at a time, so I'm trying to divide the remainder into fairly equal amounts so that.
And again, it's just eyeballing it. It doesn't, I think people get too hung up on the exact measurements and the exact this or that. It's, they're going to get this, both of her dogs are going to get this over time. So it all evens out. Now, if somebody wanted to get like really fancy, or if your dog is having a lot of digestive problems, you could take and add some fermented veggies to this, like sauerkraut or some fermentation. But you don't, if your dog has a good digestive tract, you don't have to do that.
Shall I show them the Answers milk product? No. Okay.
We're doing Micki was a client of mine that when Answers was in full go, we were doing the Answers milk products by them. But now that Answers is like no more, I'm
Really?
doing, I found, and I have to give you his information. I found a local source for raw fermented goat's milk from a gentleman who has a goat herd down in Homestead here. We have that kind of a giant size food processor.
Which is now about 35 years old.
But you won't find food processors that last 35 years anymore.
You can do this in a blender.
Yeah.
You can do this in a smaller.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm making this for 2 dogs and 2 cats. So
And how long do you think it will last? Like,
this will last me, because I started with more collard greens, this will last me probably 3 months.
cool.
And fortunately, I have the freezer space for that.
Yeah, that's the other thing is freezer space. And these, I love it. She's putting the orange in, peel and all. The orange peel, especially the white part that we usually peel off and don't want to eat, is actually, yeah, this little white, that white section is actually used in Chinese herbal medicine to settle the digestion. So that's why Chinese restaurants will often bring you a piece of sliced orange for dessert. And so that's going in there for the doggies. And they'll get some good vitamin C. We live in Florida after all, where the oranges used to grow. And that makes short work of it. Wow.
Smell it.
Oh, I can smell the fresh oranges coming up out of that. Yum. I mean, that is just loaded. This is probably, I'm a huge fan of getting our vitamins and minerals from our food source. And this is just loaded with all these good vitamins and minerals for our body. And the green color is just, it's like shiny green. No filters here. You know? So the green colors actually in Chinese medicine is for the element of wood, which is the organ of the liver and gallbladder. So we're feeding the liver, we're feeding the heart. We've got orange and yellow in there to feed the earth element. Yum.
I think people could eat this.
People could eat this. It's all human grade coming out of the produce department.
And as much as possible, it's organic. If I can't find organic, I just buy what I can find.
She said, just in case you couldn't hear, as much as possible is organic. It's, you know, if you can't find organic, you use what you have available. And now that we're in this strange place with food, sometimes you got to just take what you can. Wash it off good if it's not organic. Wash it well.
Well, I washed all of this and let it dry before I started. So, okay. So now I'm going to add this. And
But this is a way to make.
trying to make sure I've got everything.
Micki made like a modular system almost. So it's a system where she's got these frozen separately, and then she can add it to whatever meat mixture she has. So you can literally cook up, like, fix up 3 months worth of food
In one day.
in one day. And it's going to be, have you figured out like how much it costs you or anything yet? I mean, it's probably going to be cheaper than going out. I'll tell you, it's going to be cheaper than going out and buying your bag of Hill's Science Diet kibble
Yes.
or one of those foods, because you're not going to have the vet bills when your dog comes down with skin infections, ear infections,
But even
dental
so,
disease.
the food itself is cheaper.
Yeah, and the food itself is actually cheaper.
The actual cost of making this is cheaper than buying commercial grade food. And certainly cheaper than anything your veterinarian is going to feed you. And what's going to help mix this all together better is the finale, which is going to be watermelon.
And watermelon is on our list of foods for the fire element and heart as well. It's I have it listed in the PDF, but when I looked up the nutritional content of watermelon, it really surprised me. It's got a lot more nutrition in it than we think. And again, in Chinese medicine, they use the rind of the watermelon as a medicine. They actually have these throat lozenges called watermelon frost, and it's the white part of the rind that they use. So watermelon, it has lycopenes in it. It also has something called this citrulline and a few other things that were really surprising. And it's very hydrating, and temperature-wise, it's made to be eaten in the summer when it becomes ripe, and what we eat at all the 4th of July picnics and summer picnics and barbecues in August, because it cools us down and it hydrates us. And it supports the fire element. So what do you, and then your meat mixture, well, once we do the vegetables, we could probably get the meat out and we can just show them. My grandmother used to make watermelon pickles out of the rind.
Ooh, yum.
Which were really good.
Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to get the rest of this out. But everything is going to mix together better with the
Watermelon. Yeah, it adds
juices
that water
from the watermelon.
Yeah.
Okay. Put you back.
How long have you been doing this, Micki?
More than 30 years.
Wow. Long before there was internet, zucchini, Seminole. Long before there was internet, and long before there was the whole debate of raw food, canned dry food, any of the raw feeding groups on Facebook or social media, long before that, she's been at this. And when we talked on the podcast, her dogs is just amazing. Each one of her dogs is a pretty amazing story at how well they've done on her diet. It's a really good watermelon. So you should be able to reach down into the bowl and eat your dog's food. And not be afraid of eating your dog's food. Maybe not the raw meat, because their guts are a little bit more resistant to the bacteria than ours are, but yeah, you can see how liquidy that is. It's juice. Watermelon is also one of the most alkalinizing foods that we can eat for our bodies, to alkalinize our blood. Yummies.
Now, normally I make this bowl so that it's very full. Because of the full head of collard greens, I'm going to have 2 bowls. So this may actually be 4 months.
Wow. So it's about your vegetable to meat mixture is what's the proportions about?
Working down Kale.
But I mean,
Yeah.
like when you add this to the meat mixture.
About that much.
Okay. Per meal?
Well, in their morning meal.
In their morning meal. Okay.
When I give them the bones,
Yeah.
I
that's
don't
separate.
add the fruits and vegetables.
And that's about all they need. That's about what I know. There's a feeding program like 80-10-10, and about 10% vegetables. Your guys probably get more of the bone and cartilage than a lot of diets formulate for, but they're doing so good with it, you know. And their stool is good and firm, right?
Like pieces of rock that disintegrate within 24 hours.
There we go.
Turns white and disintegrates within 24 hours. So they're absorbing almost all, if not all, of the nutrients.
And when you go out, like when I would go out into the woods and we would find scat from coyotes, there was a lot of coyotes in Colorado where we lived, and their feces would be like that. It would just be like, if you found it fairly fresh, it would be white and chalky, and it would just kind of crumble apart down into the dirt. Because you don't go walking out in the woods and find a whole bunch of big plops of gooey piles of scat, unless you've got, the buffalo and cows have that, but your dog's feces should not look like buffalo and cow pies.
Wrong knife.
And I think that with the increased bone and stuff with the chicken backs and the necks, you're getting more fiber moving through. Because right now I fed a lot of different kinds of raw. I'm doing like a commercial formulated raw, but there's more muscle meat in it than bone, and I end up having to add fiber to that. Juicy watermelon for summertime. Yum.
And I save plastic containers.
Yes. Ever since with this whole pandemic thing, I've been saving plastic containers. I've been saving glass jars. So a lot of the manufacturers had glass jars shortages. So now we're just gonna scoop it up. How long will one of those containers will last you a bit?
Yes, this is about 10 days worth of food right
Okay.
here.
I'm just wondering, does it ever ferment on its own? Like when it thaws out and as it sits in the refrigerator?
Some people, well, the answer is over time, yes.
Yeah.
So you get a much richer smell.
Exactly. And you get those vegetables are going to naturally ferment. And boy, that's all a natural ferment like that is, wow. Yeah, that's slightly fermented right there. And that is all that good natural bacteria in there. So it's one of the best forms of probiotic supplements you can have. But that's definitely fermented in there. And that's good. That's probably another reason why this is so it's not like you were trying to do the fermentation on purpose, but it naturally happens.
No,
So
it
it's just-
happens.
Yeah, I was just thinking
And
about that.
so when I first take it out of the freezer, it's more like this fresh state.
Mm-hmm.
And as I use up a container, it ferments on its own. It might do that faster if I didn't refrigerate it, but I refrigerate it.
Yeah, and I think it's safer to refrigerate it. But there's a company called Green Juju, and they're essentially making something very similar. She'll put one of them is in bone broth, but they'll have, say they can put You can put one of their products in the refrigerator and let it sit for like a week and it'll be fermented. But this is all like homemade green juju. And yellow juju and orange juju and red juju.
But it's not hard, and
yeah,
it's not set in stone. So if you can't find zucchini, use something else.
And this way you can also use what's in season. And if you, I mean, most people, even down here in South Florida, I never thought there were farmers around, but I actually belong to a community-supported agriculture farm. And if you look around and go to farmers markets, you can hunt out local growers. And sometimes even they have vegetables that are either overstocked or they can't sell for full price. So you go to the farmer's market at the end of the day and they may give you, veggies and carrots and stuff that don't look great. But that would be another great source. And then you're feeding whatever is coming into season, which again, energetically, the things that are in season are giving us what we need. Living in that particular climate. It's also good to if you can, find things that are locally grown, because they have different, every vegetable or plant has a different phytonutrient profile depending upon its growing conditions, depending upon the soil, depending upon how hot it is, the climate. So when you pick herbs and food from the place that you're living, it automatically has things in there to help your body to balance out with the local climate. Oh, one of my herbal teachers said, if you're sick and you need medicine and you live out in the wild somewhere, walk out your front or back door and you'll often find the exact medicine you need growing nearby. I was on a phone call with Naja, who's part of the Gateway to Gaia group, and she was telling me about her mother who lives 15 minutes away, and she's I think she's from the Philippines, and she grows this huge garden. We'll let that.
I wanted to show
Yeah.
an alternate way, because if people don't have containers like this, you can do this in Ziploc bags and flatten them out. So.
And freeze them flattened, right? Mm-hmm. I've done
and
that.
And then you can break it up and put it into a container and let it defrost when you're ready to use it. But it might also be an alternative for people who don't have a lot of freezer space, because the flat bags will take up less space.
Yeah, and they'll fit better like on the shelves of a home refrigerator. And this is a lot too. Wow. But how much, like,
This
estimate
is more.
of, well, like if going to the store and buying these vegetables that you put in here today, do you know what your bill was? Just out of curiosity.
Not really, and it's probably in a pocket
Yeah.
somewhere. But I have figured it out in the past. And of course prices have gone up since then. But I figure it cost me about $1 a day to feed the dogs and the cat.
Wow.
The cats.
Wow. So yeah, so people who, especially now with the food going up, it's comparatively much cheaper than feeding commercial.
So I just want to show that this is a viable alternative. And you can see that it's not completely mixed. They're going to get a little more of one thing and a little less of something else.
But over the next 3 months, they're going to get all of
a little bit of everything.
Yeah. This is such a good illustration of that, because we, a lot of raw feeders and fresh feeders are stressing that not each individual meal has to be perfectly balanced, but if you balance it over time, it all works out in the end.
Which is why if I can't find something, I either substitute something else or I just don't use it and they'll get it next time. But I buy not strawberries, I buy blueberries in the summer and freeze them. And I buy seeds. So this is a viable alternative if you don't have containers and you need to freeze the food.
And then it just goes flat and you can lay it right on your freezer shelf.
Right.
And stack them up. So you can stack a lot of those. A lot easier than actually.
Correct.
Yeah, than those.
Takes up a lot less space.
Yeah. Cool.
I buy blueberries in the summer and pop them into either Ziploc bags or vacuum seal bags.
Cool.
I buy cranberries in the fall and just throw the bag as I brought it from the store into the freezer. So I always have fruit on hand that I can add to the food.
Cool.
And I particularly like having the strong colors of the blueberries and the cranberries.
Well, those strong colors have those special beta carotenes in them. They're an indication. And blueberries, that dark blue and the darker colors are like for the kidney too, in the water element. So it's even stronger than that.
But it's that simple. It's really not terribly complicated.
No.
And it's easily doable if you have a blender or a food processor.
What I got here, less than an hour ago, you had those bowls already chopped and mixed up. I think the chopping takes more time than anything. Yeah. But it's like one afternoon.
Right.
Essentially.
And then I'm good for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go, guys. Thank you, Micki, for sharing. Do you have a frozen thing of your meat? Your meat's all in those round.
Hold on. Yes. I need to take it out anyway.
So yeah, this is homemade do-it-yourself dog food. Now you can, if there's supplements, you could add to their bowl like phytosynergy for the fish oils, although this does have sardines in it. You could add some bone broth if you want, and mix and match. I'm gonna put up a whole list of things that she uses, her ingredient list. So here's a frozen meat, and you have a butcher that does this grind for you, right? Yeah. Yeah. Which, if you can find a local butcher to get the grind. There are also, I just wanted to mention too, there are fresh food, raw food co-ops that do grinds. There's one here called Raw Feeding Miami. It's a little bit more expensive than probably what Micki's paying. There are also some of the Amish farms. You can, if there's buyers clubs in your area, which there is in our area, you can buy grinds from them, where they will take, when they butcher on site on the farm, they'll take the scraps and grind it up, and all of that is really super nutritious for dogs. So there's way to find ground. The grinds are nice because you can have the organ meats in there, and you can have the cartilage and the bone ground up. Yummy, yummy. And there's Golda watching Mom. Not far away at all.
Something might fall and we get a little extra.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Micki, for sharing this. Letting me come into your home and see how you do this. All right, so Micki's gonna make a dish of food for their morning meal, and Golda's like,
refrigerated overnight.
So this is the meat mixture you refrigerated, and what is in? Let's see this. And what is in this?
This is 70% chicken necks, 15% beef hearts, and the rest is beef liver.
Yeah.
And to this, I have added a can of wild-caught whole sardines. So
there we go. We got sardines, we've got some beef liver, we've got some beef heart, and we've got some chicken neck. So that's pretty darn nutrient dense
and
meat
then
mixture.
To this, I would add about that much.
And you put about, what is that, about a cup of food? Maybe a little more?
Just about a cup, I
Yeah,
think.
about a cup of the meat mixture, and then a couple large spoonfuls of the vegetable mixture. Awesome. And that would be breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And then their afternoon snack with the herbs was the chicken neck.
Right. And then later today, actually about 7 o'clock tonight, I'm going to split, there's 6 chicken necks in here.
Okay.
And they will each get 3.
Ooh, yum. All right.
So the dogs stand in line to eat here.
Yes. And she's like, okay, Mom, what's next? But you can see she's 14. She had a really rough start to life. She was malnourished. The people were trying to turn her into a Cocker Spaniel instead of a Golden Retriever. And she's got all these beautiful feathers now on her back end. She didn't have any of that beautiful hair when Micki got her. She was, what, only a couple years old, maybe?
We don't know because of the stunted growth.
Yeah, we have no idea of telling from the stunted growth, but she's 14 now. I've been doing acupuncture on her most of her life. She had a tumor removed from her left front shoulder 5 years ago, and she's been doing great without it. And she runs and plays with the standard poodle, her sister.
They are each other's favorite toys.
But you can see she's standing up really good and solid on all 4 legs. And she has I've got her on some Chinese herbs for some weakness in the back end. And for her immune system because she went through the cancer. But she's doing fantastic. And this is what she eats every day. Mom's cooking, filled with love as well. And that makes... people don't think about that, but it does make a big difference when you're stirring that food and putting your own energy and love into that food. It's good chi, put it that way. Really good chi.
This is the Oriental Herbs, 2 capsules. This
Okay,
is her second dose today.
So we've got Golda's Chinese herbs, and Golda is saying, I want my food right now.
Yep.
So we're packing the Chinese herbs in the, what is that?
This is a chicken back.
Chicken back. All right. And Golda cannot wait to get outside with her chicken back. Ta-da. 1 dog down. Okay, we can see how fast Golda is gobbling this chicken back down. She has to chew at it. So these are good for big dogs.
Even smaller dogs, if you quarter the chicken back.
If you quarter the chicken back.
They can handle a quarter. And it's a good brain exercise, too, because they have to figure out how to eat it.
It's an excellent brain exercise. They really... So what, she's eaten about 3/4 of it?
This was an unusually big one.
Down the hatch. Chinese herbs and all.
And make sure we don't leave any scraps.
Yep.